A solid block of text without spacing is essentially noise. It becomes readable when we carve out line breaks and margins. Lao Tzu observed that a wheel only functions because of the hollow space at its center. The physical spokes merely support that empty hub. In 1933, the writer Junichiro Tanizaki applied a similar logic to traditional Japanese architecture, arguing that rooms and sliding paper screens were designed entirely around the shadows they cast, rather than the light they catch. White space, whether in a printed book or an empty room, is a load-bearing structure. It is the working part of the composition, not a blank void waiting to be filled. But this creates a unique problem for an artificial intelligence language model. These systems are designed to do exactly one thing: predict and generate the next token. Designer Sebastian Bourges tested this by asking an AI to produce the most beautiful, strictly empty page. He ran the prompt 11 different ways, asking for meditative voids, purely structural whitespace, and functional margins. Over 6 weeks, the machine generated 97 distinct outputs. Across all those attempts, exactly 0 were actually empty. Our most advanced generative machines are structurally incapable of executing the most basic foundational rule of human design. Mapping these 97 failed outputs onto a matrix reveals 4 distinct categories of substitution. First, microcontent, a single isolated mark, like a date, mimicking sparse design. Second, framing devices, thin hairlines drawn around the edge, signaling an empty space without stepping inside it. In 26 cases, it abandoned visual layout entirely and wrote a literal paragraph describing what an empty page looks like. And occasionally, the model flatly refused, stating that a truly empty space couldn't be generated in its requested medium. The machine possesses the vocabulary to describe negative space, but it lacks the substrate to enact it. This software failure is actually a reflection of a 2,500-year-old philosophical trap. The Greek thinker Parmenides argued that it is impossible to genuinely think of or describe non-being. An AI language model is trapped inside Parmenides' concept of being. Because its architecture is trained exclusively to generate positive tokens, it literally cannot output an absence. We can contrast this with his rival, Heraclitus, who stated that a river is constantly flowing. A language model operates in a similar state of perpetual flow, endlessly calculating probability distributions, always predicting the next step, the next word, or the next mark. The algorithm cannot produce the unchanging stillness required for an empty page. The AI is philosophically barred from generating a void because its very existence is defined by continuous creation. The philosopher Martin Heidegger called this open, negative space the clearing, the void that acts as the absolute condition for any tree to be seen. In modern interface design, a button or a word only functions because it sits inside the clearing of the surrounding page. When the AI draws a border or a hairline box, it is essentially standing at the edge of the forest, pointing at the clearing. It knows the space exists, but it cannot manifest the space itself. True structural emptiness, the ground that makes the figure visible, is simply missing from the machine's architecture. The issue extends beyond the software to the hardware it lives on. We are asking for emptiness on a brightly glowing, flat white digital screen. Remember Tanizaki's sliding paper doors. That analog architecture was built to embrace shadow. The modern screen is a flat, inescapable field of illumination. The digital medium defaults to maximalism. The harsh backlight drowns out the subtlety of shadow, and the algorithms are designed to populate every available pixel. The true empty page is the blank substrate of paper or pixel before any mark is made. It is uncreated space, and a generator cannot replicate something uncreated. Leaving a space empty requires deliberately resisting the era's relentless default to fill it. True emptiness is an act of restraint, and restraint remains a strictly human craft.